Welcome to Tip Off. David Locke along with you, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. No band today. Still, the band's on strike. I'll see if I can get the band back tomorrow. I could have given you a good highlight of Joe Ingles slipping over the shoulder to Ennis Canner for a dunk, but I didn't have that. Hope you're well. Thanks for tuning in. This is our little podcast we do each and every morning. I appreciate you grabbing it whenever you can, for how many ever in a row you're going to listen to, whenever it's convenient to you. Thanks so much for tuning in. We format it such that I say good morning. We share a cup of coffee or whatever it is you drink first thing in the morning, Mountain Dew. And we then hit 5 minutes on the NBA nationally, league-wide, and then dig deep on the Utah Jazz. So wherever it is you have your interest, if you don't care anything about the league, skip through those 5 minutes. Go. We don't get any sponsors. No ads you're going to miss. Go to the Jazz. If you only care about the NBA 5, grab the NBA 5, get out. Thanks for those who endured yesterday's Geek Fest with the numbers and all that. I hope you enjoyed it to some extent. Nice job by the Jazz. I meant to mention yesterday on the tribute to Wally and all of that. Went on with that. It was sad to see Wally leave us. I don't know if I mentioned it on Friday. I can't remember quite the timing on when all that took place. I think I did, though, on one of our previous podcasts. So that was nice to see, and Jazz doing a nice job. I think 8 different players have community events today. So nice to get out and be a huge part of the community. Jazz always do such a nice job with that. So let's dig in to the NBA 5. That was supposed to come earlier. Point guards are suddenly all over the market. Detroit with Brandon Jennings' torn Achilles tendon, and that one's interesting because what do they do now, in a sense that he's not going to be right back normally. The Achilles tendon can do all sorts of things to you. Some players come back from it. Kobe's kind of left us in a little bit of question whether he can. Other players simply can't come back from it at all. And so what does Detroit do? They have DJ Augustine, but that's not really an answer. Do they go make a play for some sort of point guard somewhere? One, to try to make the playoffs this year. Despite being 17-28, Detroit's only 2 games behind Charlotte. And maybe more importantly, trying to catch Miami, who has suddenly kind of begun to play a little bit better. And so all of a sudden, Detroit, and it doesn't, Detroit is somewhat in a rebuild, but with Drummond already, with Jennings already, with Monroe already, it doesn't seem to me to make a lot of sense for them to just go backwards. So maybe they're going to go try to acquire a point guard from someone who can not only carry them through the rest of the year, but also can maybe carry them the beginning of next year as their point guard, because Brandon Jennings out with the Achilles tendon. And Kemba Walker in Charlotte's interesting because Kemba's been so terrific for them through the injuries. Now he's out with knee surgery about 6 to 8 weeks. Charlotte's 19-26. They've won 8 of their last 10 and are now back in the playoffs. How nice would it be? You're 19-26 and you're a playoff team. No doubt in my mind, by the way, the Jazz are a playoff team in the Western Conference. In the Eastern Conference. And their backup point guard is kind of Gary Neal, kind of Brian Roberts, but their situations, maybe Gennaro Pardo, their situation's a little different. If they go try to acquire a primary guy, then what do they do when Kemba comes back? Kemba's just a knee scope. So they are trying to Tarzan it, as I would call it. They're trying to jump vine to vine, where a little bit Detroit situation may be trying to actually acquire somebody who can be their starting point guard for most of the next 12 months when Brandon Jennings is recovering, and then deal with it from there. So some interesting circumstances for both those franchises on the point guard. And frankly, considering where both those franchises are, they should be trying to make the playoffs. There's no reason I think Detroit should throw up the white flag now without Jennings. The other interesting thought of both those, using the metrics that we talked about yesterday, don't worry, we're not going to go too crazy on them, is neither of those guys are particularly efficient players. Now, Brandon Jennings was playing very well as of late, and Kemba Walker's never been a particularly efficient player. So if Greg Monroe, Detroit, who carries 16 possessions a game, can absorb a few more and maybe Andre Drummond, then the fact you're losing Brandon Jennings 17 possessions a game may not kill them. He's a little below league average, kind of right on league average. with what he's doing. Kemba Walker, on the other hand, is also right on league average, a little bit behind. Actually, overall, he slips a little bit further down than Brandon Jennings, and he uses 20 possessions a game. So if they suddenly start relying on Al, who has not been particularly good this year, frankly, and disperse those possessions, and Lance Stevenson's been worse, so I'm not sure who they disperse the possessions to. There's a chance that because both guards, while they score a lot, are both pretty inefficient, that they might be able to get it going. So I think it'll be interesting to see. So that's enough on them. How about we look at this rookie class. It's been greatly disappointing, but I will say last night watching Marcus Smart, I still believe he's going to be just terrific. I was a huge fan of his coming out of the draft. So strong, so powerful. And I think that you look at him, you look at Andrew Wiggins, still great. Jabari, still great. I do believe this. The league, I think, is so much better than it's ever been, and the percentage of international players in the game means when these 19-year-olds come in the league, there's just 3 more guys on every team than have ever been there before, and so these guys come into the league and they're not able to step in. The league's just too good. But one of the stories this draft just behind is 16th pick of the draft was by Denver. They traded the 16th and the 19th pick to Chicago, so Chicago could take McDermott, who I'm not convinced is very good, and they got Nurkic. I'm not entirely sure. And he's been really Nurkic, I think is how you pronounce it. He's been really good. 6'11", 7 starting for them. Played 28 minutes last night, and he's only shooting 44%. He's not great, but keep an eye on it. That may turn out to be one of the steals of the draft. And he's only 20. It's not like he's some old European. He's out of Bosnia-Herzegovina, and they really able to steal off on this one. Denver getting started, particularly in the sense they traded him for Doug McDermott. Final thing is anyone been on the Clippers recently? Because very quietly, the Clippers are suddenly playing well, and there's been 3 weaknesses about the Clippers this year. One has been this concept that they don't like each other. None of us know if it's true, but it's been out there that they don't get along. The second thing about the Clippers is the fact that their wings are so bad. Well, their wings are so bad. Matt Barnes is shooting 8% from the field, 39% from 3, taking 4 threes a game. J.J. Redick's at 47 and 44, taking 5 a game. Chris Paul has suddenly built both these guys up into career-high numbers. Chris Paul may be having an MVP caliber season that nobody's talking about. Furthermore, they've won 5 in a row. They're a game and a half behind Memphis for the 2 spot. When the year started, I had the Clippers as the number 1 the team I thought was going to win it. Not sure I really believe that as much as I did, because I think it's going to come down to whether Spencer Hawes starts playing, and I don't really believe he's going to be a playoff player. But if he can get it going, the Clippers are every bit all of a sudden as good as we thought they were going to be. And what gets really interesting here, by the way, is that Memphis has 12 losses, Portland has 13, Clippers have 14, Houston at 5 has 14, Dallas has 15, San Antonio, and then we'll see whether Oklahoma City ever gets there, still are looking like they could be 7 and 8. You may want to be the 3rd seed or the 4th seed and play that group instead of playing San Antonio or Oklahoma City. And finally, on the one thing I wanted to look at today was teams. And this is to the Clippers' point, they're not defending pretty well, but I always like to take a quick check of what our teams do in the last 10 games and the last 20 games, and a few things jumped out at me. Charlotte's defense is back to number 1 in the NBA over the last 10 games, probably playing Eastern Conference teams, but I'm not certain of that. The Hawks, the Warriors are the best, no surprise, but the Clippers are up to the 3rd best team in the NBA. Their defense is not. They're 18th overall defensively, and the New Orleans Pelicans are suddenly showing up as the 8th best team in the NBA right now over that period of time. You stretch it out a little bit more and go to the last 20 games, and you're going to get a lot more of what we've seen for the whole season. It's not quite the same trends. Cleveland obviously has jumped up a little bit. The last 20 games, the Clippers are still there. 3rd best team overall, number 2 offense, number 19 defense. Dallas, which is in the Rajon Rondo era, 5th offensively and now 7th defensively. So their offense has slipped with Rondo, but they have had a huge defensive spike that may make them a more legitimate contender. And Phoenix, who we keep talking about as the team that's going to lose out to Oklahoma City. Maybe not so fast. Over the last 20 games, they're the 5th best differential team in the league, 3rd best offensive, still 22nd defensively, but they're playing really well, and the Thunder have not really clicked in yet. Thunder, Durant missed last night, and they were able to beat Minnesota, but the Thunder have not found their vibe yet. And I would say, watching the Thunder, they look to me like a team that's pressing. They're 21st offensively, 10th defensively, and 16th overall over the last 10 games. That is your NBA 5 that took a little bit more than 5. Only like 7, though. All right, let's talk some Jazz. Remember, there's the interaction line, 801-237-38. 801-237-38. Tomorrow, actually, is a day, or Thursday, I'm going to get a production day with some of the players. So if you have any question you want to ask the player, you want to have on our broadcast, this is really a good time to do it. I really appreciate it. 801-237-38. That's 801-237-38. Last night, the Jazz just got, a bunch of their weaknesses showed up, but they just got out physical. They just didn't know how to handle playing a Boston team that got into them a little bit. Boston's plays hard, defensive team. They've been better without Rondo for the last 3 years, so they're actually playing better. It's a heck of a road trip for them. They've won 3 of 5 on that trip, and they just blasted us. 38-20, 38-14 in the second quarter. And in that, a large part of that is the same thing we've had a problem with all year that we solved for 2 games, which is playing without Gordon Hayward. But last night, Gordon Hayward's plus 13, and the Jazz are minus 22 when he's on the floor, off the floor. That's a problem, and it's going to continue. And to some extent, that's who we are, right? We're not a fully formed team yet. We're continuing to develop players, get the minutes in for players to develop. And that was interesting. Talking to Quinn Snyder before the game yesterday, we were talking about this stretch of kind of now 20 games where they went 10-10. And, Quinn kind of stopped me and said, it's easy to get caught up in that, but, we've now only got 30, 40, whatever games left, 30-something games left, in which, to chance to continue to develop these guys. We really got to work now on the development of individual players in circumstances and times to be able to get, those opportunities and see how they deal with them and how they play. And this is a really important time for us developmentally. It's almost as though the switch pushes more developmentally here in the final 35 games of the year than maybe it does night to night trying to win it. I think you see how last night with, Favors played 34, Cantor played 31, Gobert, who did not have a good night last night, played 26. And, you're seeing those minutes out of the guys, and Trevor played just 4.5 last night. So, we're still thin. You still have Elijah Millsap playing 20 minutes a night. Nice story, but it tells you, we're obviously very thin. We're down 2 guys at that position. I just thought last night they got punked, and they didn't know what to do with it. And they got knocked out of the game, and they couldn't recover. And finally, when they did, it was probably too late to really largely because you didn't roll over and die. But on the other end, that game's over at halftime. I mean, we can give a lot of I think fake credit for some efforts in the second half. Good. I mean, when you go on an 18-0 run, Boston, but it also is a sign that that game was pretty well on the wrong side of that other run. If you look at the second quarter, it's worth kind of still pointing out that the Jazz opened the second quarter with a rookie in Exum. Cantor's a 3rd or 4th year player. Trey's a 2nd year player. A rookie in Millsap, and Trevor Booker. And then take Booker out and bring Gobert in for most of when that quarter went awry. So your lineup when that quarter went awry for a portion of it was Exum, Cantor, Gobert, Burke, and Millsap. Right? So it's a rookie. Cantor's your 4-year veteran. Gobert's your 2nd year player. Trey's your 2nd player. And Millsap was in the D League 2 weeks ago. That's a team that's going to have troubles with them. What I thought was interesting, if you contrast that, the team that the Celtics had on the floor, as young as they are, were Marcus Smart and Tyler Zeller, both really good yesterday. They're young players. With 14-year veteran Tayshaun Prince, with 12-year veteran or 13-year veteran Gerald Wallace, and 10-year veteran Marcus Thornton. That's a different group on the floor understand the game as much as those guys are not great, but they're veterans understand how to play and what to do. And then they replace him with Avery Bradley, which is Gordon Hayward's draft class. Well, that's a lot of experience Avery Bradley's had. When the Jazz made their substitutions, you first went to Ingles, and now you're even younger. So realize that there's not that's going to happen. That's, I think, going to be part of the deal for us throughout the year. There's a youth and inexperience levels that means things are going to go right. I think it's going to happen. Our schedule is pretty brutal from here on out. The next 10 days can be tough, but again, that's where I think the focus has to be. There's still a developmental issue that's going on. I kind of liked Quinn's comment after the game. He didn't decide to play that the second half was worth this great sign. No, we got our butts kicked early. We didn't play well. We weren't sharp in any aspect of the game. It's not acceptable. Okay, let's make sure it doesn't happen again. I thought that was good. And in regards to Dante, let's remember Dante wasn't playing particularly well prior to getting the start. As much as anything, it might have been that Trey wasn't playing well enough to hold his starting position. I'm not sure I loved 20 shots last night in 32 minutes and no assists either from Trey. But I think that Dante was really outclassed last night by Avery Bradley and Marcus Smart in their physical play, and that's going to happen. And the point guard run that we're about to take right now is Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, Mike Conley, and Phoenix's triumvirate of point guards. This is going to be a really tough stretch. By the time we hit the All-Star break on February 11th, Dante is going to be waxed. It's probably good timing for him to do that. That's pretty much what I've got for you on where we stand. I don't know. Let's head to your questions if there are any today. I didn't post pre because I didn't know what time I was doing the show. Only one. Does Quinn Snyder have a goal of pace of play as far as metrics go, and do you have a detail on who the fastest play teams are? I think he does have a goal in that regard, and I think he's had to alter it a little bit because of the fact that this team just doesn't have the capability to play as fast as he wants. It's really one of the reasons why Trey was brought off the bench, is because the pace of play with the starting lineup was just so slow, and as much as Trey's instinct from his time at Michigan, who plays the slowest pace in the league, is to go back and you get the ball, and so I think that's something he really wants. The Warriors, Phoenix, Boston pre-trade, Houston, Denver, 76ers, Minnesota, Sacramento, Lakers, and Thunder are the top 10 pace of play teams. The bottom 10 are Chicago, Indiana, San Antonio, Charlotte, Cleveland, Brooklyn, Pelicans, Grizzlies, Jazz, Knicks, Heat. There's no correlation between winning and pace of play. I do like to only look at the last six. I think that's 20% of the league. That gives you a better angle. So it's Brooklyn, Pelicans, Grizzlies, Jazz, Knicks, Heat are slow, whereas the top six fast are Warriors, Suns, Celtics, Rockets, Nuggets, Sixers. The other one I would say is, being able to make shots helps, right? The Warriors and the Suns and Rockets can really shoot it, and so they're going to, come up the floor and pull pretty quickly, and I think that makes them play a little bit faster game. That is today's edition of Tip Off. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks very much. Good games coming up at the house on Wednesday and Friday. Clippers on Wednesday and the Warriors on Friday, so come on out and join us for both. See ya.